Next step on the journey. The penultimate show on my arbitrary list of post-Madoka Dark Magical Girl shows. It's Magical Girl Raising Project, which I thought was Rising Project for the longest time. This was actually the first one of these shows that I watched while knowing the reputation of Dark Magical Girl shows. There isn't really an interesting backstory as to how I found it either. I saw it being discussed on Tumblr in the Magical Girl sphere and thought, hey, I should watch that, and then I did. Though I can't quite remember what I thought of it at the time. I didn't think it was bad per se, but I also didn't think it was good either. So, Magical Girl Raising Project started as a light novel written by Asari Endo, with illustrations by Mamarino. Its first volume was published in 2012, and it was in 2016 that the anime would be released, which followed the first volume's story. The anime was done by Studio Lurch, known for the Danganronpa anime, Assassination Classroom, and School Live. Now, this is a bit of a similar situation to Yuki Yuna, in that this is not just a single anime. The anime from 2016 is an adaptation of the first volume and story arc, and according to the wiki, there have been 18 published novels in total, 9 main series books and 9 side novels. It's actually quite interesting watching this show, knowing it's only the first part of a much larger story. Unfortunately, I have not had the time to properly dive into the rest of the franchise, just because I haven't been able to get my hands on the light novels, and also I struggle to sit down and actually read things. Unfortunately, it leaves a bunch of the stuff in the anime unexplained. I'm not sure if I'll ever jump into the rest of the light novels, though I have been told that the later light novels are much better written. However, in this video, I am looking at the anime and the anime alone. Everything else is unknown territory to me. Though I have heard recently there was a season 2 announced, so that's cool. Before properly beginning, if you like the video, then kindly give it a like below, and subscribe if you want to see more, and comment, because I like reading comments, and, conversations are fun, and I don't know how to do the YouTuber thing without, sounding soulless. Alright, anyway, let's go! The plot! There's a rumor going around that if you play the popular mobile RPG Magical Girl Raising Project, there's a 1 in 100,000 chance to become a real magical girl. Koyuki has admired magical girls her whole life and has always wanted to be one. So, when the mascot of the game, Fav, addresses her directly, asking if she wants to become a magical girl, she accepts. There are 15 magical girls in the city, with 1 more on the way. They are tasked with using their enhanced abilities and unique powers to help people around the city. Every time they help someone, they earn magical candies. Fav eventually announces that the 16 magical girls are draining the area's supply of magic, and the number will be cut down to 8. Whoever has the least candies by the end of each week loses their privilege as a magical girl. Which, that sucks. But what sucks more, and what the group isn't told about, is that you die when you stop being a magical girl. Though it doesn't take long for everyone to find out. From there, the death game is in full swing. More rules and events are added as the show goes on, which serves to further put pressure on the girls to drive them to kill each other. And man, that sure does happen. Quite frankly, it takes next to nothing for somebody to plot a murder, and it isn't even the openly homicidal one to do it. I found the pacing of the show to be really off. Sometimes it's agonizingly slow, and then all of a sudden everything decides to happen all at once. Not only that, but I just generally found myself noticing weird directing choices. Scenes were often weirdly paced, and genuinely, it felt like the show spun a roulette wheel to decide what should come next. Not only are scenes strangely edited together, but there are also some just straight up inexcusable editing mistakes here. There's a part near the end where it has this cold open, then it cuts to black, and then goes to the opening sequence.
Fighting strong opponents sounds like fun to me.
Like, there isn't even a cut to black with a character ominously saying something over it. It's just super weird. And then earlier in episode 2, we have the screen fading to black, and then the music just stops, cuts randomly.
I absolutely think so. Every girl's capable of being a good princess.
Genuinely, what is happening here? It is so strange. Pro tip, but if a character we've barely seen suddenly starts getting focus, they probably won't be around much longer. At least twice, the show opens up with a character's backstory, only for the exact same character to be dead by the end of the same episode. That's not really good storytelling, and it comes off as a really cheap way to make the audience feel for the character. Hell, half the time we only get the backstory while the character is dying. I'll be honest, I was struggling to talk about this show. I don't even know where to begin, because while there's a lot that happens in terms of, like, sequential events, the impact any of it has is, like, next to nothing. At the end of the story, what are we left with? But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, let's try and go over the characters. When it comes to Death Game stories, it's important to have characters that the audience can get attached to, or at the very least, characters that are memorable. If you're just watching random stick figures be killed, there isn't really a reason to care. You need to have something that makes them stand out. That could be a cool gimmick, a well-written personality, unique design, anything. When it comes to Raising Project, there are some characters that are done pretty alright, but most of them fall flat. You can put the characters of this show into two categories: the normal person who thinks killing others is bad characters, and the insane murder-happy homicidal asshole characters. Our main protagonist is Koyuki, whose magical girl name is Snow White. We don't really see much of anyone outside of their magical girl transformations, so I'm just gonna call everyone by their Maho names. Anyway, Snowy has always loved magical girls and wanted to be one. After gaining her powers, she spent most of the pre-Death Game time just going around and helping people, because to her, that's what a magical girl should do. And being real for a second, it feels more like the story just kind of happens to her. Snow White doesn't really do much, and she doesn't really have a personality. Her thing is that she likes magical girls. That's it. And sometimes a character is written like that to make a statement about agency and how it's taken away from someone or something, but here it really feels like everyone else in the show is more interesting, and Snow White is here just to be sad protagonist girl, which is fine, but I don't think it's done well here. I kind of hate that I have to say this. Then there's La Pucielle, who's actually Snow White's childhood friend who also loved magical girls. And her name is actually Sota, and they're actually a boy. But because everyone's magical girl forms are the character they designed in-game, he turns into a girl upon transforming. She's got a night theme and a cool dragon tail, because why the hell not? I actually really love this design. I thought I would have more issues with it, but no. This is cool. I love it. Ripple is a ninja girl with a bad attitude. Her mentor and partner is Top Speed. She's just genuinely a cool character. I really liked her English voice, and she's got this whole ex-biker gang thing going on. Nemarine is somewhat of a hikikomori who prefers to stay inside. She helps people by entering their dreams and aiding them through their nighttime troubles. Then we have Ruler, Swim Swim, Tama, and the Peaky Angels, Yunael and Minael. All of these girls work together as a group, and with the exception of Tama, all of these people are the worst. Ruler is just plain mean, constantly throwing around verbal abuse and talking down to the others who follow her for some goddamn reason. Her entire backstory is that she was a secretary who had good ideas, but no one listened to her because misogyny, I think. so now she has the power to be the girl boss she always thought she was. The worst thing about her is that the show tries to make her out to be nice, actually. In a flashback, she gives Tama, who is a middle schooler, a manual to read. But there are a lot of kanji that Tama can't read, so Ruler takes the time to simplify it. Which, would be really nice if it wasn't for the fact that Ruler spent the entire scene needlessly insulting Tama.
I think you're a really kind person.
Me? I am not.
Yeah, you really aren't. The angels are weird. The best word that I can use to describe them is petty, but petty in a homicidal way. These two come off as the kind of gals who would tell people to kill themselves on the internet. Tama, as mentioned, is a middle school student, and her story is mainly that she's kind of mediocre, but that's okay because I like her a lot. She's really cute. As for Swim, we're gonna come back to her. Moving out of that messed up group, Calamity Mary is a fun one. She's an abusive and power-hungry woman who earns magical candies by aiding local crime syndicates. She's a grown-ass woman who was abandoned by her husband because she hit their child, and man, there's something really compelling about her. Calamity Mary is just such an absurd character, from the design to her personality to her story. Also, the southern accent in the dub kills me every time.
Come on, ain't it obvious? See? She gets it. No one opposes Calamity Mary. Don't cause me trouble, and don't piss me off. Got it? I'm the one talking, so shut your damn mouth. I don't need your lip. You know what I like about you? The fact that you'll probably stab me in the back sometime.
It's this horrible, horrible woman really committing to the bit. We see this one time where she transforms and she does a whole little thing, and God, it's so funny. She's so funny. Mary is very briefly aligned with Magicaloid 44. She's an opportunist who does what she has to for the sake of survival, which includes scamming people. One of those people being Sister Nana. Now, the most significant thing about Sister Nana and Weiss Winter Prison is that they are gay. Canonical lesbians! Hell yeah! Though, sadly, that's kind of their only character trait. We have the kind and compassionate high femme Sister Nana and the butch, protective one, Winter Prison. That's genuinely all there really is to both of their characters. Cranberry, the musician of the forest, is a quiet one, a bit of a recluse. She eventually reveals herself to be scary and murderous. And Hardgore Alice, who easily wins for the best name in the show. She's kind of spooky, kind of mysterious, though literally everyone judges her based on appearances, and that's kind of really frustrating to me. Going back to the grind, the way the plot and the death game moves forward from its initial reveal is kind of dumb. So, an update is announced that gives the girls the ability to transfer candies between one another. That's cool, but it also apparently works even if the other person's magical phone is turned off. Obviously, this is to drive tension between everyone and encourage foul play. Immediately, Ruler is like, alright, let's go steal Snow White's candies. And then they do that, but oh no, it turns out Swim was planning a coup the whole time and makes it so that Ruler has the least candies and she dies. Noticeably a much bloodier death than the first person who died via the death game rules, so I don't know what happened here. And there's a lot going on. The best part about the whole trading candies thing is that it never comes up again. Bodies are hitting the floor now. Sister Nana is trying to make some kind of alliance of people who think murder is bad, and thinks that asking openly murderous people to join is the best way to go about it. More people die, Snow White stands around crying, items are added to the game and you buy them spending years of your life. Murder.
We're shortening the number of magical girls again, pun.
Stupid pointless argument, unearned character growth, murder, and the show is over. Did you want literally any answers to the events that you just witnessed? Go hunt down the light novels, or die. feels as if the longer the show goes on, the more it begins to fall apart. Any semblance of structure in its plot crumbles in favor of mindless violence. And I feel like there's a way to make that enjoyable to watch, but something here doesn't click with me. What sucks is the missed potential, and we do see some of that potential. So every magical girl has her own unique power. La Pucielle can change the size of her sword at will, and we do see a couple of really cool uses with that. Snow White can hear the thoughts of people in distress, which kind of predisposes her to taking the lead when it comes to magical candies. I think one of my favorite powers is Tama's. She has the power to quickly create a hole in anything. Of course, this ability is demeaned by Ruler because Ruler is the worst. One of the best moments in the show is when these girls are fighting Cranberry. Cranberry is taken aback seeing how young Swim is. We're getting to that. And Tama takes that chance to strike. Of course, her dinky little claws don't really do much, aside from making holes.
You foolish mutt.
One of the coolest and honestly most creative deaths in the whole show. If you're gonna have gratuitous violence, this is how you do it. Have fun with the unique powers and scenarios that you've constructed. Do something special. Think outside the box. And it's also a good character moment. Tama does not take having just killed someone well, but in a moment of desperation to save her friend, she thought quickly and acted. Her action saved her friend, who then immediately slits Tama's throat because Swim is the worst. There are a lot of problems with this show. Number one would be, as always, weird sexualization. Though, to be fair, there isn't anything super explicit here. A lot of the designs are just kind of like, come on, man. The interesting thing about this show, though, is that the magical girl forms were designed by the characters themselves. Sometimes this says something about the character, such as with Snow White, who's a very classical magical girl design, or Calamity Mary, who in normal life is a pathetic, abusive woman with an inferiority complex, so she designed her character to be a gorgeous, buxom blonde outlaw. Others, though, are just kind of confusing and contradictory. Ripple, for instance, is upset by the fact that she has to wear such a, quote, ridiculous outfit, and all that I could think of was, you designed that outfit. Obviously, you don't always want to wear what you designed a game character to wear, but it just came off as a weird comment, because it's like, dude, you literally designed that outfit. Or Sister Nana, who's a kind-hearted and soft-spoken woman. Her design being based on a nun is fitting, but why is she specifically a sexy nun? Like, look at her. The garter belts and the way her chest is framed. We don't get to know enough about Nana as a person to say whether or not this was an in-character choice, so the only option left is that she looks like this because the author wanted a sexy nun, which, you know, no shame, but still. Not to mention, a lot of this show is just shock value. I get it, it's a death game, people are gonna die, but you can write a death game story without shock value. Shock value is when something is written in to provoke a strong negative reaction from the audience without much substance behind it. It's the literary equivalent of a jump scare. Like, yeah, you feel scared for a second, but what do you have after that? So say in Your Turn to Die, when yeah, it's shocking, but it's not shock value. There's a reason for it beyond let's just throw something horrible at the screen. But here, I don't know, a lot of the deaths just felt like, oh, this character died. Oh, this character died. Oh, this character died. Oh, this character died. And it just gets a bit tiring after a while. not to mention, but something about the sound effects and the amount of blood exemplify that it's, ooh, dark and gory. Like, the main purpose is the gore. It's not there to enhance the story, it is the story. Which isn't a problem in and of itself, but it just... it's not clicking. There are also some horrible things going on, and none of them really have meaning, and I do not just mean the deaths. Some of these backstories are just... I can tell a man wrote this. Ripple's backstory is that her mother is a slut, the show's words, not mine, and kids harassed her for it, and she reacted violently. The breaking point comes when her mom's new boyfriend is a massive fucking creeper and she moves out after he gropes her. Like, that shit just comes in the middle of episode 7, like, that's so... You can make sexual harassment part of a character's backstory, but good lord, that's not how you do it. Or Hardcore Alice's backstory, which is she's a middle schooler and her dad killed her mom for some reason, so now no one likes her and she thinks she's a burden on her grandparents who took her in, and she was gonna kill herself, but because Snow White helped her find her keys one time, she decided to have hope and become a magical girl to help Snowy, and that is some ridiculous levels of camp right there. And I love Hardcore Alice. One of the reasons given as to why she designed her character so grimly is because she wanted to thematically mirror Snow White, black and white, which is really cool. Also, because of her comedically troubled life, it makes sense that her interests would take a darker turn, but that's going down a completely different rabbit hole. But even all of that interesting psychoanalysis of the characters just gets sort of left to the side so that the plot can keep moving. The characters are never given time to actually develop outside of a main gimmick or character trait.
So, here's a funny little thing. Just for fun, I wanted to watch Calamity Mary's little transformation she does because I think, 1, it's a good insight into her character, and 2, it's also just really funny. I was lazy and I didn't want to have to search through the whole episode to find it, so I just decided to look it up on YouTube. I didn't find the clip, but for some reason I watched this video instead, and in the comments was some deeply important information about the central mechanics of the plot. So, when transforming into a magical girl, you get a lot stronger. All physical abilities are boosted, and generally you're a lot more durable. That's pretty standard. But according to this comment and my friend who's read the light novels, a magical girl's mental fortitude is also increased upon transforming. This is so that in the face of danger, instead of freezing up, they're able to think clearly and act. So the reason all this murder goes on is because, quite literally, their emotions are being suppressed while they're transformed. Magicaloid's comment of, I thought I would feel something after taking a life, and Fav's comment of, don't worry, you won't go insane, Pun,
are the only clues we are ever given about this. What? Now, with that context in mind, I still find a lot of the decisions in the show to be utterly ridiculous and not very good or smart. And not in the it makes sense that this character would make this choice way, but more in the this is stupid and the only reason it's happening is because the plot demands it kind of way. Fav also feels inconsistent as an antagonist. So, like, he's the cute little mascot fairy thing, and anyone who knows anything about Danganronpa can immediately clock this character as bad news. Not to compare everything to Madoka Magica, because I've actually seen other Magical Girl shows, but this is our Kyubey, the cute little mascot that becomes unnerving and even antagonistic as the series goes on. But whereas Kyubey came off as a genuinely unemotional creature who, when you think about it, remained pretty neutral throughout the series, Fav is just kind of mean for no reason. I don't know why he thinks mocking some of the girls will get them to do what he wants. Like, he is not good at playing a situation.
Because ultimately, Kyubey had reasons for the things he did, and they weren't just for the sake of cruelty. Fav, on the other hand, is just being terrible. What even is his deal, anyway? He's from and works for the world of magic. What is that? I don't know, the anime never explains it to us. But he's working against them? Like, he's in charge of the exams to create magical girls and find new citizens of the magic world, but is fudging the numbers so the world of magic doesn't know he's made it a death game, or what?
And finally, addressing the swim in the room.
So, the characters of this series vary in age. A lot of the girls are in middle school to high school, but there are also some adults in the crowd. Swim falls into neither of these categories because she is 7, which makes her whole everything so much worse. Nothing about her character makes any sense. Quite frankly, it feels as if she was written in as the unpredictable killer in this death game that's hard to read and mysterious, and that's it. She doesn't have any other character. So, Swim likes fairy tale princesses, so when she meets Ruler, she decides to take her words to heart and strictly adhere to everything she says. The last dream that Nemarine visited was Swimmy's, where Nemarine told her that she could be a princess too, but there can only be one leader, and concludes that one of them has to die, which, I mean, sure, I guess. I'm sure there could be a discussion about how children don't have the strongest grasp of death, and early exposure to some fucked up things can cause some developmental abnormalities, but I don't know, she seems to understand death is sad and that when you kill a person, they're never coming back, and yet still decides to do a lot of murder. Even with the whole emotions being dulled thing, that doesn't change a person's moral compass. God, Lordy B. It was surprisingly difficult to write anything about this show, mainly because it was just so meh. I found myself being mostly frustrated at the characters and the choices they were making because frankly there was no reason for some of those choices to be made. It feels like there were way too many elements to keep track of, and most of them get lost along the way. I haven't even mentioned the sort of social media aspect of it all, because to normal people, the magical girls are like urban legends, and there are some online popularity polls. Even though we aren't really told how that works, are those from the world of magic? What is the world of magic? I mean, I sort of know because of wiki dives, but I shouldn't have to study a show's wiki page in order to understand basic concepts. Like I said before, the show only goes over Act 1 of a much larger story, and from what I can tell, that larger story seems to address every issue I have. It explores the ethical problems with the world of magic and how they create magical girls. It explores what the world of magic even is and how it works. It actually sets up proper story threads. I'm kind of sad that this show is so average. There's nothing about it that stands out aside from magical girls in a death game. Which, side note, but I really hate how people talked about this show in 2016. For separate reasons, I went back and I watched Gigux Anime 2016 abridged video, and the section on Raising Project was just, haha, another dark magical girl show, just like Madoka, and it's like, okay, we get it, you've only ever seen Madoka Magica. These shows aren't even remotely similar. All in all, I would say that this show isn't the worst I've watched for this series. It was at least entertaining in some aspects. And like I said, there are fun characters and concepts to be found. And some of the designs are unique at the very least. I don't necessarily recommend it, but at the same time I sort of do. I don't know, this is something that you would watch for the sake of laughing at it and getting attached to one or two characters that you find interesting. I would recommend the dub purely for Calamity Mary though. She really was the peak of this show for me. That was kind of disappointing, actually. I didn't really feel much of anything for this show. Okay, well, next up is Oh. Oh, God. Oh. Oh, oh no, no, please, no, no, no!